Hey everyone, it's Jappy's Crypto here with just a breakdown of a trade session I did last night. So we'll get straight into it. I'll just turn the music off. And I just wanted to do a bit of a review of my trades overnight. One of the really important things I think is to do with trading is to review your trades, and I suppose this for me is the way to do rather than a written journal. A great way to do a journal is to do a video, so that's the point of these videos. So the other point I wanted to make, and rather than doing a normal videos that I edit, etc., I thought it's just easier and quicker to do live streams. So there you go, that's why I'm doing live streams now. I wanted to just also share with everyone before I get into my trades from overnight, my current trade station. I've done a little bit of work to it over the last little while. So you'll see there on my screen, very top of the screen is effectively a TV that we had for our caravan that we weren't using. So I thought I'd wall mount that up on top of the screen. I've got two 30-inch, I think pretty sure they're Lenovo displays I picked up from Officeworks. I live in Australia, so it's probably like Staples or one of those type of country, Best Buy, something like that in the States. But great high res. I think they're the 30-inch displays. They're not 4, or maybe they're 4K, I'm not sure, but they're pretty high res, so it allows me to get a lot of information on the screen. And then I've got my MacBook Pro 16-inch down the bottom as well, so I effectively have 4 screens that I trade with when I'm trading. It's just good to have the screen real estate. The reality is what I typically do is I'll have Tradovate on one of the screens, I'll have TradingView on another one, and I'll often set up within TradingView some alerts, so I can actually have the TradingView screen up on the top screen, all the charts on the top screen with some alerts, and I can be doing some other stuff, and when the alert signals, I'll look up and then bring it down to the main window and trade away. So that's my current setup. Thought people might be interested in that. It's not actually overly expensive, surprisingly, with the price of screens now. So that TV at the top was only, I think, $300-400 Australian from JB Hi-Fi, and the 2 Lenovo screens were about $300 each. MacBook Pro, different story. That's the top spec MacBook Pro, so I spent quite a bit of money on that. But you can do this with lower spec MacBook Pros. However, one thing to note, if you're on a Mac, only the higher end MacBook Pros will support that many screens. So the low end MacBooks or MacBook Pros, if you're wanting using those, just pay attention to the tech specs. If you're going to go and look to purchase laptops, particularly Macs, you just got to pay attention to the amount of screens it will support externally. There you go, that's my trade setup, or my trading station as I like to call it. And I'll get into the trades from overnight. So last night in my demo account, so for people that aren't familiar, I haven't watched episode 1, I am trading with Tradovate with a $10,000 demo account, as I'm saving up my bickies again to get back in with live money. I was trading with live money for a while. I'm out with live money at the moment, and I'm just rebuilding and relearning some of this concepts. So this is trading the NASDAQ micro E-mini, which is a micro contract on the E-mini, one of the instruments that you can trade through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and my broker is Tradovate that I use. So I've just marked out my TradingView chart based on my overnight trade. So I just wanted to go through this for myself personally, but also thought I might as well share it. What not to do and what to do. So as I said, I'm learning. I've got, obviously, I still get quite a few trades wrong. However, it's ultimately about how do you manage your risk as best you can. And I constantly learn from my mistakes. So very first trade I took last night was this one. So I'll go into detail here, and what my, I suppose, methodology or thought process was. This was during the overnight, so I don't typically trade this time frame or during this time. I'll change this back to New York time frame. Quickly change that to New York so you can correlate that. So last night when I was watching the markets, as I said, this is before I typically would trade, and this is just before 6 o'clock New York time. I did notice that the market had formed this I saw this fair value gap, which I thought might be interesting. I'll extend that out. And what I'm looking for is a market structure break. So if you're familiar with the ICT method, you'll know what that means. But for me, you've got a possible market structure break here. This is only the 1 minute time frame though, so just be cautious. And then also you've also got down here as well, it's probably this is all just personal opinions, of course, but I'm not a purist by any stretch of the means. So just here, you'll notice that we've got a fair value gap just in this area. We've possibly got a market structure break here because that's a nice push down here. And what I was doing is my trading plan was if the price comes back up into this fair value gap, I'd look to take a short. 10, 15 minutes later, the price came up in here, so I actually placed a short entry with just 2 contracts. I was just starting off nice and slow, and as I said, I don't usually trade, but I just saw this when I was out of the corner of my eye when I was looking at the charts, so I took a short here, expecting the price to go this direction. On my setup, I was actually targeting price. So if I zoom out a little bit, I was actually hoping the price was going to come down to this level. That was my first target. So what happened? Price came down, came up. Sorry, I was in here, came down, didn't quite reach that far. If you look here, it didn't quite reach, or it was very close to reaching that. It may even broke it, as actually, and I do apologize. I was being a bit too aggressive there, and I was actually targeting that. I did consider taking 1 at this point. However, what happens here, let's have a look. If we draw this out, and then we draw another trend line at the bottom of this target area, let's have a look what happened. So if I hadn't been so aggressive and been a little bit more conservative for my target, I would have actually made a profit on that first trade, because what happened here, that was my entry. Price actually came down to my, this would have been a sensible spot to maybe take a partial, and I had 2 contracts in, so I could have taken possibly 1 off at that point, and it did actually reach that. So it just reached through, grabbed some of that liquidity, and if you'd taken that, it would have been a nice little move. So it's not a bad move. And if you're on TradingView, they've got a really cool tool in here which allows you to measure the price range. So if I use this tool here and go from there down to there, that's a nice 60 tick move. So that would have been a pretty decent, nice little return. However, I've been a bit greedy, unfortunately for me, because what happened here is the price bounced off that liquidity and moved up, and I had my stop loss up at this point here. So that's where my stop loss was placed, and I got stopped out. I only had 2 contracts, so it wasn't a huge loss. $24 loss on my demo account. Not the end of the world, and keep on looking. As I said, I just had the charts up in the back corner of my eye. So for me, that's a legitimate first trade. Unfortunately, was a little bit too overly aggressive with, or a bit greedy, I should say, with my target. However, you live and learn as we go. So big learning lesson there. Number 1 lesson: if you see profits at an intelligent spot where it has hit a potential point of interest, take your profit. And for me, it would have been really sensible at that point to take 1 out and then possibly move my remaining contract just below my entry point, and then it wouldn't have mattered if it had reversed. I would have still finished off that trade with profit. So live and learn. So we'll move on to the second trade I took. So this second trade for me, when I reflect on it, was kind of a stupid trade. There was no real setup. I was over trading. So yeah, definitely learned a lesson from this one. So what I was thinking, my rationale here was, so this fair value gap, the price continued to move down. You couldn't really argue there was a market structure break, to be brutally honest. I mean, possibly there, but that's really, I think I'm really just trying to stretch the friendship there. The reality is, I would have had to see price move down below here to see a valid market structure break, and then if price had come down in this way, so let me draw so if the price had actually come down to here and then returned up to that point, that's probably a valid short entry I should have been looking for. But because price didn't come down this far, yep, I'll own this one, overtraded. So silly entry. So took a short entry here when it came back up to this fair value gap. I suppose naively thinking the price would return this way. It messed around for a little bit. I kind of got a feeling that this was, when I started to see the price action move this way, I thought, you know what, this is just silly, and I cut the trade, within about 10 minutes, cut the trade at here. And I just feel once it moved right past this, and I said I was overdoing it. So let that one go. Only had 1 contract actually in that particular trade because I wasn't overly confident, and I'm glad I wasn't overly confident, and I took the $20 loss and moved on. So then what I did here is the next thing, and one thing I do, or I'm trying to teach myself to do, is to mark off. It's one of the things ICT talks about, one of his mentorship series, is you mark off the price at midnight. So if you look back here, you'll see in this area here, and I've got a session that shows me the New York time. This is the green area is the New York session, I've marked a line here which shows you where the price was at the midnight of the overnight. So if you go back into midnight here and you mark off where price actually opened at midnight, back over here, this is where this line corresponds to. And so that was midnight, and that was the price at open. So I've just marked those on the chart just as points of interest, and just will be interested to see how price responds, which we'll go into because it did actually do something quite interesting last night. Okay, so what did I do? So first trade, took another loss. So this is the third trade of my session. I took another loss. Once again, stupid trade. Wasn't really a genuine setup. It's one of the things I've recognized with myself is I like to be in the market, and I think it's probably something that novice traders or beginner traders like to do. We like to be in trades, or I do anyway. So when I saw this, I go, oh, this possibly is a fair value gap. It wasn't. I thought it might have been. However, I just overthought it. So I took a short entry here, thinking, hey, we've got a market structure break here. So yeah, definitely a market structure break. And if we look at this, I'll just change the color of this so it's a bit easier to see. Yeah, there's definitely a shift in market here where the price moves down, case price comes back up, and I sort of convinced myself, oh, I might have missed this move, and if it comes back, I'll grab it. So I did take that short. I placed my stop loss just above this point, or just at this level here, just in case I'd read this wrong. Lucky I did, because I did go in with 5 contracts. So I'm at the moment, with my demo account, I've got I started with a $10,000 balance, so I'm trading 5 micro mini contracts. The reason I'm not trading a full size contract is mainly because the fact that one contract for me is just too much heat, and it doesn't allow me to have a stop loss set where I'm risking much more. I don't really want to risk more than 1 to 2% of my total account. So for me, I was just taking 5 contract trades. So 5 contracts in the trade here, short entry there, stupid trade, got cut out almost immediately, and I was out of the trade. So you'll also notice here that the market opens for the equities market at 9:30 US time. So you'll see from this point, price starts to move. These are little movements, and then 9:30, it's like going on a roller coaster. The price starts to go a bit nuts. So that was the second trade. So far 3 out of 3 losers, and I'm not too down, to be brutally honest, because I'm just watching the market, and I know the system works. So I'll just continue to watch for the next setup. What you notice here now is that this area here now becomes our previous high. So if I mark off this, I just wanted to point this out for everyone. So I'll just get rid of that. And the next setup I'm looking for is I want to make note if the price actually breaks through this previous high. So price here, we're waiting to see how price reacts here. So we've got a nice shift up. So nice big pump, market structure break, and really nice thing that formed here is a fair value gap. So here's a fair value gap that got formed, and what I'm doing now is I'm looking to see if price will come back down into this fair value gap, and sure enough it did. So we got this nice movement here. I'm really being conservative with my entry, so you possibly could have taken an price actually came back to the opening price for the session. So I did get in here. You possibly could have, you could have gone in there if you're being a little bit more conservative, but I'm just being really basic or using some beginner techniques. So that was my entry. Price moved fairly quickly after that. So within only a few minutes, price started to move. Now I actually had this, if price broke past this, because when you zoom out on the current price action, it's been quite some time since the price was actually at that price level. So if we go to the 15-minute chart for a second, and I'll just reset the chart. When you look at this price here is the last time it'd been up to this level. So I thought, I'm not sure it's going to get to that high. So I was actually being fairly careful because I wanted to protect any potential profits I was going to get. So when we go back to the time we're looking at here, apologize for that. I had said to myself, if we break through this level, be ready to take your profits, and I did not long after that. So only in a few, 15, 20 seconds after it priced through that price, I actually cut the entire trade, and I took took out a nice $435 profit from those 5 contracts. I took the whole lot out, didn't leave anything on the table, and that was a really nice trade. I continue. What I actually realized as well, one thing with Tradovate, and I've learnt this, and this next trade that happened wasn't an intentional trade. It was just actually literally because I'd left an order in there, and that was originally my stop loss. So within Tradovate, I'm not setting bracket orders. I'll actually place my initial trade, and once the trade gets executed, I'll place a manual stop loss. The thing you have to remember with Tradovate is once your trader executes, or once you hit your take profit or stop loss, you need to cancel the other order you've got open. And so this is actually what this was. Turned out to be fluky nice, but it had nothing to do with any particular strategy. This was the stop loss. So this was the order I'd placed here, and I'd actually placed a stop loss down in this area here, which is just below this fair value gap. So that's where I'd actually had my stop loss placed, which was a short order. Because when you place a long as your order, you need to place, if you want to do a stop loss on that, you need to do a short, which is a counter. So because if the price had come down here, it would have done the reverse order and closed out my position. I had that order left open. Order had come up here, hit my take profit, happy days, booked the profits. However, I'd forgotten to close my stop loss. And so I'd actually thought I'd almost closed my charts, and then I noted in Tradovate that I had an open position because the price had come down here and executed that stop loss. But because I had no open positions, that's a brand new order. So I had 5 short orders open. Luckily, I realized within about 10 minutes, and I just cut the trade because I didn't mean to do that. And that was just thank you very much, Tradovate in the market, for giving me $230 profit, but that was just a pure accident. So nice accident to happen, made up for the early losses. But there you go. That was my trades from overnight. My big learning, as I said, is don't overdo it. So I overcooked that trade, took a $155 loss because I really took a trade that was based on nothing, and the real trade, or the one that probably met all the criteria, it was a really nice trade. So that was trades from overnight. There's my journal for this evening, or for last night. I'll have a quick look at my report from Tradovate. So Tradovate allows you to pull out a performance center style report, which is in their settings, which I showed in the last video. But here's the report showing the overnight. So overnight had a gross profit of $422. If you can't see it, I'll zoom in a little bit. So gross profit, so it's actually net profit, I should say, of gross profit, because that doesn't include your fees, etc. So 422, and the net profit was 418. That was $23 in fees. Super happy with that session. And I love the way that Tradovate provides you all this information, because it shows you how much money you made in your profitable trades, how much money you gave away in your losing trades, breaks it down into all these graphs, which you can manipulate a lot of the data where it's capturing this information from. You can change the filters to include or exclude certain types of information, and it just shows you a running total, and that's the breakdown of all of the losses. So there you go. And also the other thing that's really cool about this is it actually gives you a log of your trades as well. So if you want to go back into the charts, and it gives you the exact time the trade was placed and all of the detail of that. So there you go. That's my trading journal for last night, the 22nd of July, which in Australian time was a Friday night, and it's actually into Saturday morning. I'm just doing this video now. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's all I've got to say for now. So I look forward to sharing the next trading journal update as I'm on my way to doubling my demo account, and with the goal of obviously saving $10,000 real life cash, which I'll then enter the market when I get to that point. And also a big shout out to check out the Insider Circle Trader video mentorship series on YouTube, which is what I'm trying to base my trading on. So good luck. I hope you have a great day.